Hello, and welcome to a week of Barons. This is the first installment, talking about the first Baron I've owned and modded, my Wingmaster Baron. If you don't know, a Wingmaster is a model of shotgun, I think made by Remington. It's a very specific model, it's not a general thing. But, yeah, anyways, it's my Wingmaster Baron. It's got a Tech 3 turret at the front, which is currently floated with 3 Busby Stickies, very appropriate. If I remove this one, you can see inside. All 3 of these barrels are brassed, and I've added a muzzle flash on the trigger pull, using the switch out of a night finder wired to a 3-volt battery and this 3-volt amber-colored LED. And normally I would have its stock spring and a recon spring in it, because a recon spring, or any original M-Strike type spring of the M-Strike primary spring from the recon to the long strike. I think the long strike was the last one made in that style. Basically, a recon, alpha trooper, raider, deploy, and long strike, all of the same plunger, basically, and same spring. So one of those nests nicely over a Baron spring. So I guess an upgraded M-Strike primary spring for like an Orange Modworks spring would go really nice in one of these. But right now I just have a recon spring in there because the Baron spring is in this monster right now. And also we have a Nerf event coming up where blasters that hurt and leave welts are not allowed, because, well, that's not fair to some people, and it's benefits some people too much. So basically what I've done is I've taken the stock barrels out. I've widened this hole at the front and made it kind of pear-shaped. You can't really see very well with the barrels in there, but you can see that later. And I epoxied the Tech 3 turret on the front of it after I cut out in between all of the little holes at the front that allowed it to index the barrels. Show you the insides here in a second. One thing about a Baron, it has 8 screws total. There's 1 in the handle, 6 across it in this kind of pattern there, and then 2 in the handle here. There's 1 sort of hidden there. And it'll open right up. See? That's a recon spring. That's where the Tech 3 turret is welded on. Just sounds dirty. And maybe you can see in there? Nope. I wish I had a flashlight, I could show you what was in there. There we go. Here. There's light. There's the insides of there. And the rest of the inside of my Baron. I kind of went overkill with the soldering iron. Yikes. I should have removed those before I tilted this thing. That's the return spring for your slide there. I kind of went overkill with the soldering iron and welded this thing into place, which is good because it's really annoying when those come out. There's the switch out of a night finder, my 3-volt battery, which is covered in E-tape, and it's got epoxy putty on both sides, which will have to be broken to change this battery, but it's a pretty decent amperage battery, and it's powering, you know, a rather small-sized LED. That's the Baron's catch here. It's actuated by the hook on the trigger, which normally has a spring on it, but that spring isn't terribly necessary. especially when you've got a switch and the catch spring to return it. And I gutted the spring-loaded system out of this that allows the plunger tube to index. I didn't have to cut off any of the grooves, and you can see the brass in those barrels really well now. Now we'll put it back together, and I'll let you hear and see what it looks like firing randomly across my room. Now these can be kind of a pain to put back together because of the way that it works. You've got to take there's a knob on that, you got to get into place. And I found just leaving this priming bar at an angle and then closing up the shell, and mostly closing up the shell, right around it, and then pushing it in there. And then check, you want to check to make sure it's going to work. For some reason, there we go. And tactically putting screws back into place. Go. Two things about putting one of these back together. I start in a V pattern with these 3 screws, and then do these 2 and the last one, and then the 2 in the slide. And the other thing to note, all 8 screws are exactly the same size, and the one in the front is also the same size. So is the one that holds down the cover on the catch. So there's 10 screws total in this, as it is. Stock you would have had 11, because there's one that holds the floppy thing that allows the plunger tube to index. Okay, and it's all put together, so I'll fire it off twice, once with 3 Busby sticky darts, and a second time with some Adventure Force darts. And remember, it's shooting roughly half or a third as hard as I modded it to hit, because it's only got the one spring in there instead of both of them that I would normally run. But okay, grab some of these Adventure Force darts out of that blaster's dart storage. Video on that will be coming out soon. Or another video about that will be coming out soon, because there are updates about it. Extremely tight twist fit. And 3 Adventure Force darts. And only one of them fired. Nice thing about a small turret like this. And nothing. I'll have to fix that soon. I know, I should put that other spring back, right? Well, stay tuned for the next part. There'll be a playlist in one of these 2 corners on the little annotation thing. And that will contain all of the videos from this week of Barons. Stay tuned to see what other crazy things I've done with one of these. Back to the drawer. See ya.